the South Stokes concession roof. And also, that would be action number C. We have board consensus on those two, but we need to officially vote in session. And D would be the purchase of capital equipment, the list that was provided, mowers, floor strippers, per se, to the conversation we had during work session. Do we have any other options or requests for approval, additions to the agenda?
Mike, I'm sorry. Something came in when you said item C. What was that?
Approval of the South Stokes concession roof.
Mr. Rogers, that is under the consent agenda.
Okay.
Do you want to remove that from consent?
No, I mean, we can put it on the consent because it's under yours. We just need to officially, you have board consensus to proceed. So we'll strike that one. So that makes C capital equipment.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
And on consent, we had F, the approval of the capital items. Do you want
Does that
out of consent or leave that in consent?
Well, those items total more than the 25,000. Is that, are we legal to do that?
Well, this is your approval. This is the board approval to spend that money over $50,000, and then each individual item is less than that, which would be approving those purchases. This is the budget approval to spend that money.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll just leave it on consent because every one of them, I didn't know. I just want to make sure we're doing it right since this is a telemarketing event.
Right.
Okay. All right. Then with no additions or subtractions.
Wait a minute. Hey, what was the question? I'm sorry.
The question was about a couple of items that were on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Do they need to be in action or should we leave them in consent?
Okay.
Yeah. Since they're less than the threshold for superintendent discretion, and I've polled the board previously, we should be good with those, leaving them in consent.
I've got a question, Mr. Rogers, regarding consent agenda item D, approval of desktop purchases. Had we discussed that before?
That was the desktop. Those were the desktops for North Stokes that were on that list, correct?
Ms. Barker, this question was about, I'm sorry, give us just a second. The desktops are these are for teacher desktop replacement. We were going to discuss them today. We're going to discuss them Monday, trying to close down the agenda timeline.
All right. Hold on a second. I think somebody just dropped out. Somebody with 336 ending in 01. Who is that?
Well, that's me, but I'm still here.
Yeah, but Fred is picking up some noise from you, and it's blocking him out.
Those are for teacher desktops and administrators.
That's not me in the background.
Sorry.
What in the world is that?
Sorry. It's my 2-year-old. Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to ask everybody to put their phone on mute and just click it off when you want to speak. How's that?
Okay, that sounds good. If I can figure this out, hold on.
Also, I'd like to say that when your mouth kind of goes away from the microphone, then we can't hear you, so it's kind of clicking in and out as far as the voice. So if you could just adjust that, it would help.
Well, I think it was clicking in and out because somebody else's was picking up. So if we put everybody on mute, we should be fine, I think, Pat.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Rogers, I had added, those were for teacher desktops and administrators. I wanted to start in a wave with elementary folks first. And of course, due to the circumstances, that purchase may need to be flexible with our online digital piece coming.
Ooh,
What
there's a
is
lot
that
of feedback.
feedback?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, are those critical items we need to purchase right now?
The question is right now with the move to digital learning and remote learning to try to get some better equipment into the hands of some of the teachers that have the worst equipment.
Okay. Are those desktops going to be purchased and placed at schools, or are they going to take them home?
These would be at schools, and teachers we foresee right now having the option to come in and do lessons at school. And some will have they can do it at home if they have that kind of equipment and they have internet at home, but some people may need to come to a classroom and do their stuff. And
Okay.
we just have some outdated equipment.
I understand.
Mr. Rogers, I just think we may need to put that on the discussion agenda, not in consent, because it's, I think that's over $100,000. Just wondering, that was item G that was supposed to be Monday, correct?
And we can do that. We can pull that out and put it in discussion if y'all would like.
Okay, let's move it D to discussion. We'll just bump everything else up.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Rogers, had we added to the agenda the resolution that Fred had presented?
No, that's next to be added.
Okay.
So we will move that to C under action for adoption, and we will have discussion after we have addressed it. In other words, I'm not going to put it on discussion just to move it to action.
Okay.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Seconded by?
Second.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Let's see. I'm scrolling down. Public comments. Fred, do we have any?
Ms. Boljak, have we had any email public comments? No, we don't have any email public comments, and no one is in the boardroom to give public comments.
Okay. All right. So we're clear there. Consent agenda. Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda as presented?
Sorry, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I did want to make a minor edit, and Pam may have already seen it on the discussion section for the minutes of February 2nd. Under item A, where it says at the end, Ms. Knight agreed that for convenience to parents, it would be best to have, and that should be, I think, evening meetings. Is that correct? I'm pretty sure I said evening meetings in those minutes. That's all. I just wanted to mention that. Sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Rogers?
All right. Yes, ma'am.
The South Stokes press box roofing bid, we did discuss that, but is that within the budget that we discussed as well?
Yes. Ms. Moore, we're good there, right?
She is shaking her head. Yes, sir. That is within.
Okay.
That item added to South Stokes kept us in the budget for South Stokes roofing project.
And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I do have a request for an additional item. I'm sorry, I'm juggling a lot here at home. So I wanted to add for discussion, if appropriate, the use of grounds for students, if 10 or less students, and what that looks like. And I can.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. I couldn't hear what you said. Could you please repeat it?
Yeah,
I couldn't hear.
the use of, sorry. The use of grounds for students, if 10 or less students during this.
Okay, I understand
Are you-
what Ms. Knight is requesting, but I believe under the, Fred, correct me, under the emergency action, doc, declaration, whatever we want to call it, the thing you sent us from School Board Association, that would fall under the, superintendent's privy, would it not? Isn't technology great? Fred, did we lose you?
I couldn't understand.
No, I'm here. I was just looking back at it. Right, the superintendent would have the authority to grant such use, provided it
Ms.
would
Knight.
not be prohibited by the governor's order.
Right, I understand the governor's order. I'm just talking about outside use of grounds, whether it be one or two from the community or a few of students. And I can elaborate on why further or save that for later.
Well, the question is, under the emergency declaration, are you wanting to pull that authority from the superintendent? Because it specifically addresses that he would have total authority over that type of use based on the recommendations.
Okay, no, I mean, I'm fine with it.
Okay. If we opt not to adopt that resolution, then we'll go back to it, Ms. Knight.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So any other changes or any other concerns about the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve as presented.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
You mean as presented? Because we didn't
As
change it.
presented, yes, sir.
Right, okay. All right, do I have a second?
I second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against? Well, we're all accounted for, so, okay. Discussion. Give us our COVID-19 update.
Well, the COVID-19 situation may be the most fluid situation I've ever been a part of. As we've been dealing with this for the last 9 days or so, nationally, locally, and all that, it has changed constantly. Right now, we are in the planning stages of delivering online instruction. We are having grade level meetings. We are having this board meeting through video means to try to get kindergartners together, kindergarten teachers together, first grade teachers together, and the such. So they are going through doing their planning. We have been instructed by the governor to prepare. We have been given a 2-week window to prepare for delivering of remote/distance learning opportunities. During these 2 weeks, we are offering some enhancement opportunities. Some of that is going on with individual classroom teachers as they're working out their technology. So they may have a group of students on with them, doing some little activities, testing out the technology and making sure all that works as they are doing things. Students are not accountable for the work or being present online at this time. These are enhancement or remediation activities, not new learning at this time. Our instructions were to prepare for a March 30th day to do that. Just to be honest, I don't expect it to go perfect in that meeting the same way I did not expect this meeting technology-wise to go perfect. We're going to have to work out some kinks. We're going to have to work out some things. And, you know, I've never imagined that we would be able to do online delivery of instruction as good as we do it in the schools, or we would have already done that. There's something special about a teacher in a classroom, and I still believe in that. But we are working to put that together the best that we can. The other big initiative that the governor wanted us to do was look at feeding. I've been sharing those numbers with you. The first day, we served over 1,500 meals. The way that works is when somebody comes up, we will give them their choice of breakfast for the next day, lunch for that current day, or a combination of both. And so most people are taking both, and they come up to our feeding spots, which are in each of the middle schools. We have an elementary school in each district identified, and a faith-based partner has offered their parking lots. We are not inside their buildings. We load up a bus with 100 lunches, or what we believe the need would be, and we are going to that parking lot, and people are coming up telling us how many meals they need for people 18 years old and under, and we are giving them that food. We do have permission that on Friday we can provide meals for the weekend as well. So if tomorrow they can come up and tell us would they like just lunch and breakfast, or would they like 2 additional lunches for the weekend and 2 additional breakfasts for the weekend. So we do have that in place. We are working with cafeteria staff, bus drivers. We've got some administrators who are backup bus drivers, and it has worked well so far. And again, served over 1,500 meals on Tuesday, over 2,000 yesterday, and I do not have the numbers today. They probably will be rolling in maybe while we're in this meeting or shortly after, and I will share those with you when I have them. That's kind of the brief overview of it. Mr. Rose, would you like to add anything to it, especially the instructional piece?
Yes, I would. First off, I will say it seems like in the most troubling and trying times, our people step up. And we have been extremely fortunate to see people doing the things that they are doing. I'll just try to give you a little bit of a rundown of some of the details of what's happened. So we have been problem solving around the clock. We got to go to all of our principals on Sunday. Since that time, every staff member has received tutorials on digital learning platforms. We have discussed components of digital learning, and we've been talking about synchronous components and asynchronous components. And this is going to present different issues by grade level. For our middle and high school teachers, we've all had the training to move to one-to-one with the Friday Institute. These teachers are going to use Google Classroom or Canvas as their learning platform. This is going to allow us to put in links, instructional videos, documents, and all types of media that can be uploaded and used. We've had a lot of companies to reach out to us providing free resources. We have made these available, but we have encouraged some discernment with our teachers because, again, we have not had time to vet all of those resources. But as they go through it, they find something useful within those, they are welcome to incorporate that into their platform. All of our students for secondary have their email accounts, and they have been using them. That's kind of our first line of direct communication. Everything that we're doing for these next 2 weeks needs to be supplemental, which means enrichment or remediation. For our K-8, we have put out 10 days of math and 10 days of reading instruction through our Ready, just to keep their skills current. We are going to be able to conduct face-to-face. We can use Zoom or Google Meet just as we're doing this board meeting, and our teachers do have access to these tools. With our elementary, this is going to be the area where we've got the biggest learning curve. I got to give a lot of credit to Miss McGee. She has met with every single grade level. She has done Zoom meetings over the last 2 days and gotten with each of them to really go over our instructional practices and what that's going to look like when we go to full digital. What is good digital instruction? Next week, we're going to meet with every single one of our principals by grade level, elementary, middle, and high, to talk about how we're going to monitor the instruction and start problem solving around the next round, around the next issues we're going to face. I feel good about the plan that we have in place. What's going to be challenging is once we implement this plan, the problem solving that takes place then. Our kids that don't have access, figuring out what we're going to do for them as far as either getting access for them, delivering paper packets, we just got some extra problem solving to do for the areas that don't have access at this time. And I'm going to mute my mic for a second, and I'll allow Ms. Barker, Ms. McGee, or Ms. Collins to also talk about what we've been working on this week if they would like.
I would like to ask Ms. Barker to chime in next and talk about the Wi-Fi plan that we're kind of working on at this time.
Okay, I'm working with River Street to add hotspots to 6 of our locations. They started today, pulling the cables. We're adding at West Stokes, South Stokes, Pine Hall, Piney Grove, Sandy Ridge, and Nancy Reynolds. We've tried to pick central locations that would serve that area, but River Street has brought this in free of charge to us, and it's starting today in hopes of having it completed by Wednesday, so that families will have an opportunity to come. If they do not have internet access in their homes, they would have at least a place to come to get free Wi-Fi. Slate Funeral Home has also offered that their facility for Wi-Fi as well, and of course Walnut Cove downtown has free Wi-Fi.
We are also looking to try to put together a list of community partner things like libraries, downtown Walnut Cove, McDonald's in King, different places that offer free Wi-Fi or open access. And the plan is that when we have our facilities, parking lots covered as well, that we will push that plan out to our public, our teachers, staff. So if they get individual questions from parents, we can share those resources. Again, we know that that's not the ideal situation, like everybody in one place and doing things like this call together. But we are, just as we're recording this call, teachers are planning on recording their lessons. So when people do have time to go to these locations, they can still watch the video, download materials, do that type of, use those resources when they're available.
Have we reached out to some of the faith-based organizations? Because I know Palmyra has also offered that Wi-Fi. And I'm thinking that some of the drop-off locations for meals may also do that.
Mr. Rogers, your sound cut off there for just a second. Would you repeat that?
I said, have we also reached out to the faith-based community to find out about local churches? Because I know Palmyra offered it also there, a drop-off location. But I'm feeling pretty confident if a faith-based organization has it, they would share it.
Well, and we're reaching out to as many community partners as we can to find out where those locations are. And if people that normally restrict their Wi-Fi would open it up during this crisis, we will certainly add them to the list. We will take every location we can get to try to make it as easy as possible on our students.
Okay, great.
Question about that. So the parents would bring their children to these parking lots, so it's like pretty much a drive-up kind of situation. Will they be able to upload lessons to their Chromebook and then go home and do that without internet access on the Chromebooks?
Yes, ma'am. Our students have had that ability for a while now. That we realize that a portion of our students don't have internet at home. Well, they can upload things, prepare their items offline, and then go home and complete their work. Now, if they're wanting to do additional research, they're not able to till they get back to Wi-Fi. But yes, they can come, upload all of their information, download all their information while they're on campus, then go home and complete work, and then come back later and do their uploads and downloads again.
That's what I thought how it was going to work. So they're not going to be spending hours in the parking lot.
No, that's not the intent, is to not spend 8 hours a day in cars in parking lot trying to have school. No, ma'am, that's not the intent.
Thank you.
We are also still in contact almost daily with the health department, with the governor's office, with DPI. Again, it's been an extremely fluid situation, and we've tried to get the messages out to our staff and community in almost real-time information, the things that are pertinent to them, as well as items to you as well. Actually, today is, knock on wood, been kind of quiet. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's been kind of quiet today. But we have had scheduled conference calls with the governor's office, DPI, health department, the emergency operations center here in Stokes County had a meeting last Friday, I believe. We are at the table every time there's a table, trying to stay on top of this and make sure that we have the most up-to-date information to keep our students and staff and community safe and informed.
Okay, any other updates or questions from the board members on COVID-19 update?
I would like for Ms. Collins to address the EC paperwork. I'm sure she's been in contact with the teachers on how that is going to go, but could you just give us a brief update on deadlines, head count, and how service monitoring, things like that are going to be going?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we have been in constant contact with the State Department, and we're constantly updating our information to our teachers. We are doing Zoom meetings. I've met with pre-K, adapted, and middle school teachers. Tomorrow we'll have 2 elementary meetings and a high school meeting, talking about opportunities for network actually between them and the issues of deadlines. On the 16th, we sent home, or we emailed a communication to teachers talking about how to document in their service logs the time that they can count as specially designed instruction. And we also sent a document that will give them a place to put down any IEP meetings, evaluation deadlines, those kinds of things that are missed, so we can calculate that time. That is the guidance that we've gotten from the State Department. They realize that there are going to be meetings missed, deadlines missed, the April 1 head count, they understand all of that. They've just asked that we keep up with the time of the delay and also keep up with service time.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Will in-home services be an option of therapy or anything like that to stay in place with some of these students?
Not at this time, especially during these 2 weeks. Of course, there's no school, and we received no guidance about anyone going into homes to serve students yet.
Okay, so maybe though, hopefully.
I just can't, I don't know. We're waiting for guidance from the state on that.
Okay.
We have discussed this, that we are going to look at the kids to see what needs we can meet digitally, remotely, etc. That takes those students off the table, and then look at the other more difficult cases and then ways to serve them, and whether that's to serve them now or to offer them compensatory services once some of this calms down. The easy ones we're taking care of first, and then the more difficult ones we'll have to look at basically on a case-by-case basis. Again, still looking to DPI for daily guidance as we keep asking these questions.
Yeah, so we've been having lots of conversations with teachers about what the difference is between just equity and education that everyone gets and what's the specially designed instruction. And there's just an extra step for those students that are EC that get specially designed instruction. There has to be an interactive piece. It can't just be a packet or can't just be a video. There has to be interaction and facilitation by the teacher. So that's one step further that really those EC teachers are really having to figure out. It's also going to be on a case-by-case basis, depending upon the student and their needs and their access and all of those things. So we've had lots of conversations with them, and that we're going to do the best we can. We have lots of parent communication and also communication with the reg ed teacher to kind of see what access those students are getting, and then do the best we can, and just make sure that we're documenting any time that's allocated on their IEP. We document what they're getting, and then we have to look at what educational harm may have been incurred in that time. We're suggesting that the EC teachers do progress monitoring as soon as we get back to normal, and have those teams determine how much benefit was lost and make determinations about compensatory education time.
Any further questions?
Are you encouraging phone conferences or phone meetings at this time, or just postponing those right now?
Right now, there's no school by executive order. So starting March 30th, we are encouraging any kind of interactive instructional phone calls, interactive videos. We're actually doing all of our meetings with the EC teachers in the Zoom platform so that they kind of see what that looks like and how they might be able to use that with their students.
Ms. Collins, I think the question was more about having telephone IEP meetings.
We have not received any guidance about that yet.
That was my question, Dr. Rice. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, so no meetings these 2 weeks while there's no school and no staff, but we are waiting to receive guidance about how we can have IEP meetings in the future. Right now, they just say document the missed meetings, and we'll when we get further guidance, we can address it then.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Collins, this is Fred. I was just wanted to ask you. I got that email that came out today from the state telling all the EC directors not to have any IEP meetings, saying that everything was put on hold, and there is a, as I understand it, a conference call tomorrow with all EC directors, and it says the Department of Education, and I couldn't tell from that, are they talking about, is that the State Department of Education or is that the U.S. Department of Education?
I have not seen that email yet today, Mr. Johnson. I've been online, so we are telling teachers no IEP meetings at this point until we get further guidance, though. So
because I was thinking that it's sort of like that, from the way I'm reading this, that even the U.S. Department of Ed is going to put all requirements on hold right now, sort of like the U.S. Treasury has done on certain requirements. But anyway, it's I just got it a few minutes ago. It's from State EC Director Sherry Thomas.
yes.
Yeah, it's a pretty detailed memo that's basically putting everything on hold, at least for the next 2 weeks. But it sounds like you're already doing pretty much what's in this memo. But I just wondered if that call tomorrow is with the State Department of Education or the U.S. Department of Education. Be interesting to know after you've participated in that call.
Yes, I'm just looking at my email right now to see. At this time, I don't see anything from Sherry Thomas, but that doesn't mean it might come any minute. We get updates every afternoon from the State Department.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll forward this to you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. I'll go back on mute. Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, anything further? Okay, moving on to West Stokes High Practice Field.
Good afternoon, board members. This is Dr. Taylor. want to give you an update regarding a request from West Stokes High School. Part of the CTE project was to take some field dirt from an area on campus and relocate that, to behind the CTE building to bring that grade up. The original plan was to simply move that field dirt and resow that area. While that work was taking place, Mr. Spainhour asked about investigating the possibility of regrading that area for future use. He indicated that he really struggles for practice fields, etc. He was given permission to reach out to someone in the community who has given him an estimate to regrade that area and make it more usable for future use. That price was $3,000. West Stokes High School is going to be paying for this. So you are aware, we did consult with the contractor to make sure that they understood what we were wanting to do. They gave their approval before any movement, anything was done. So this area, so you'll know, is between the bus drive and the main drive. There's kind of a plateau there that field dirt has been removed from in the past. That area will be regraded and used for anything from band practice area to lacrosse, soccer, etc. But Mr. Spainhour was very excited about the possibility of having that additional area to use on his campus.
Any questions?
Looking at the map image, Dr. Taylor, is it down between those two roads where there's a clearing?
Yes, ma'am. It's basically as you turn into the bus drive, it will be on the right. And looking from the road, it did not look feasible to do anything. But when you walk up on that plateau, it's larger than it appears. Mm-hmm. And the grading, they're going to move some dirt around and basically come up with, I don't have the complete dimensions, but it's a larger area than you would imagine. But it is right there on the right of the bus drive and to the left of the main drive, not far from the road.
And you said the school was going to pay for this?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Spainhour has indicated that West Stokes High School will pay for the $3,000. He has worked with the company that's going to be doing the work that's actually getting started. They're going to be writing out some advertisement and or other things, and then the price tag of $3,000 is a very good price to do the work they're going to be doing.
It mentions
Excuse me, I had two questions there at one time.
No, I was noticing it said the athletic club will pay for the field to be leveled. Is that correct, or is it out of school budget?
From what I understand, he's working with his boosters.
Okay.
From a vast majority of this, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Well, what do they need from the board to be able to do this? I mean, if it's only $3,000 and they got the funds already, what do we need to do about it?
This is for your information. We wanted to let you know what was going to be taking place. And I do apologize. This was scheduled for Monday. To let you know, the company that's doing the work actually brought the equipment out there Tuesday evening late. And with the weather being good and the fact that they're working with West Stokes, they actually got with Mr. Spainhour and they are doing some work now. So this is for information, for your information primarily.
Well, thank you. This is Pat, because you know, sometimes we might be riding over there or whatever and notice construction. So I'm glad they're able to use this area that was just completely just waiting for something to be put on it, and that way they can use another practice field over there because they have a lot going on. We appreciate that.
Well, in full transparency, our desire was to wait today before any work started so we could share that information with you. But late yesterday afternoon, as I was going over checking on the CTE project, Mr. Spainhour advised me that, again, given the fact that the weather was good yesterday and this company is good enough to work with them, they went ahead and started a little bit of the work. It's not finished, but we did not want you going over there and seeing this activity without having an update from us as well. So.
And with them adding the lacrosse, women's lacrosse, women's soccer, JV football, and of course all the other men's lacrosse, you know, they probably do need an extra practice field. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, moving on to action, approval of business modernization, which we discussed at the work session.
Mr. Rogers, we do have that item C, the desktop computers.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Barker, would you like to explain that?
All of our teacher computers are Windows 7, and our Windows 7 support ended in January. Of course, there's a window, we have a pad that is usually extended, but we need to purchase new computers that we can add Windows 10. The ones that are currently in the classrooms can't be upgraded. We've already added memory and we can't add any more. So our teacher computers and administrator computers need to be updated so that we can have the Windows support needed. I do have an estimated price at the bottom that is just purely estimated on the cost per grade or per level, elementary, middle, and high. I would like to do it in waves because there's no way that we could do them all at once. I would like to go with the Meet-3. They are providing the white glove service where they will send us a desktop. We can image it, build it the way we want to, send the hard drive back, and they will go ahead and load that on all the PCs before shipping them. We would only have to touch them one time to rename them and join them to our domain. I've gotten several different quotes, as you can see from that sheet. I've got CDW, Data Networks, Dell, South Data, and then the Meet-3 and VIG Solutions. Meet-3 did offer the white glove service with the 6-year warranty.
I can't find that sheet. How much was it for the ones that you wanted?
The one that we selected was 350 with 8 gigabytes of RAM, but we asked to add 8 more gigabytes of RAM, so that would put it $385 per desktop. Now that is just the desktop without the monitor, because the monitors we have would work with with a new desktop.
And how much would that cost?
Roughly for elementary, $91,000. In the end, by doing them all, $192,885. That's elementary, middle, and high.
And what company does that go with?
Meet-3.
Meet-3, okay. Well, we certainly do need new desktops. I agree with you that these Windows 7, you can't put any more information on them, can you? So we do need to go to Windows 10.
Yes, ma'am.
If we bought them now, what is the turnaround of getting them?
It would probably be at least 6 to 8 weeks before the turnaround, getting them delivered.
Okay.
How does this affect the budget or funding? Do we have it?
We had earmarked from last year, I think around $75,000 for the admin and financial secretaries. And Lynette and I had met, and she said that there was more money available to use, and I'll let her elaborate on that. She's coming to join me. You can come right here.
Okay, we had a lot of state carryover money that we actually carried over from June 30th, and we can use that money. Basically, none of that can be used for administrators, but only for instructional needs. So the majority of this expenditure will come from the state technology allotment that we currently have from carryover and this current year. The administrative part will have to come from our local dollars.
So simply said, do we have the money?
Will you say that one more time?
Simply put, do we have the money?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
What about the administrator? Is that a new position, like a new salary, or?
The administrative part would be for the purchase of equipment.
Oh, okay. So we already have that, right?
Nothing for personnel.
Okay, good, good. Well, what do you need? Do you need, okay. Is this on the agenda, Mike, or this is action, or what?
This is on the discussion agenda right now. We would
Oh, consent.
to allow us to spend that money.
Okay.
So, any other questions on the item?
Yes, Karen,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
said that with this white glove service, they would take the hard drive and add stuff to it?
No, ma'am. They would send us a demo, they would send us what we're gonna buy. We would take that and image it with what we want on it, from like a normal teacher desktop with the icons they want, the software we want on it. We would build it. We would send that hard drive back to them, and they would push that image out to all the computers, all the PCs that we're gonna purchase. So when it comes back to us, we would have to just touch it to rename the computer to whatever school it's going to, whatever classroom it's going to, and then join it to our domain.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And
That seems like the way to go.
someone maybe mentioned earlier that this in turn could help our remote educating of students. But,
Well,
I mean, it's going to take, you said 6 to 8 weeks. Correct?
yes, ma'am.
It will take 6 to 8 weeks.
I couldn't hear you, Dr. Rice.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
In and out.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just to yes, it will help teachers do lessons remotely, digitally, all of that. A lot of the information, softwares, Google Chats and stuff require some better hardware than what we have right now. The other thing, and again, the newspaper is on this call, and I'm not trying to hide anything, but we don't know when this will end. There's a lot of different projections. I think you probably heard Kansas has already shut down school for the rest of this year. We don't know what we'll be facing in August. Again, I've not been told that. We just right now about an end date for this, and we know that the more digital that we're doing right now, we need better equipment. And even if we don't, this equipment's outdated severely.
Okay, with that being said, no further comments. I'll take a motion to move this to action.
All right, I make a motion that we move this to action.
Seconded by?
I'll second it, Cheryl.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
All right, move it to action. Let's see, my screen just went blank, so.
A is approval of business modernization.
Yeah, I'm just, so it would be C for it'd be, flip back one page on the hard copy. Be D, wouldn't it?
Yes, sir. D would be the desktop.
Okay. We'll call it desktop D and go from there. Okay, that moves us to action then, approval of business modernization. Any comments? Take a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Seconded by?
Second, Tedder.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Approval of the audit proposal. Take a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the audit proposal.
Thank you, Ms. Knight. Seconded by?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Action resolution. At this point, Mr. Johnson, would you fill us in on the resolution for COVID-19 per state Board of Education recommendations?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you have before you resolution to grant emergency powers to the superintendent that has been drafted and recommended by the North Carolina School Boards Association in response to the order entered by the governor on March 14, and also in response to the need for action by the superintendent as needed because of the state of emergency which has been declared by both the President of the United States and the Governor of North Carolina. This allows the superintendent to take action as needed based upon directives issued by the President, by the Governor, or state or local health officials in response to the COVID-19 virus. I think one thing is important is to look down to item number 2 for examples of what the superintendent would be able to do. Adjustments to the curriculum, and we've talked about that today. Examples for instruction online to replace as necessary classroom instruction. We've talked about alternative educational program options. This is what may be necessary for our EC students. We've talked about modifications to the school calendar, which may very well be necessary because of actions by the federal or state authorities. Limitations on access to property owned or controlled by the Board of Education. This directly addresses the issue raised by Mrs. Knight. Applying to governmental bodies for financial or other aid. These are examples of what this resolution would allow the superintendent to do. It would not, for example, allow the superintendent to make any personnel changes. The Board of Education would still retain sole authority to hire or extend the contract of any current or new employee. This is basically just to deal with directives that may be issued by the governor, by the local health department, by the president, or other federal or state governmental authority. I have modified the generic version from the School Boards Association to fit Stokes County. It is my recommendation that the board adopt this emergency resolution. Of course, at any time the board feels like the resolution is no longer needed, the board can always repeal the resolution. So, with that being said, I'll be glad to respond to any questions that the board may have.
All right, we'll start by Ms. Knight.
I mean, I feel like Fred pretty much explained it as far as actions that may be needed as a directive from the health department or changes in curriculum. I mean, that would be my main two concerns right there. So I'm okay.
Ms. Messick?
I've read over it, and I think the resolution that Fred adopted for our county looks good, and I think that all superintendents throughout the state has been presented, the school boards have been presented these resolutions, and during this uncertain time, I feel like that we need to let our superintendent be able to make decisions on the fly sometimes, because we don't know what emergency will arise. We don't always get the information from DPI like he does, but he's able to give it to us when he can, and he's been very good about that. So I feel like that this is something that I will vote for.
Ms. Tatter?
Absolutely agree with this resolution. Just continue to keep us abreast of any changes as they occur, Dr. Rice, as you've been doing, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm in concurrence also. I mean, so the board is aware it does not apply to personnel or administrative contracts, so we'll still have to get involved with that, but just, I'm good with it. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Desktops.
Okay.
All those.
We didn't need a motion for that, did we?
Yes, we do. I assume that the chair made the motion.
Oh, he did. Okay. All right. Second it or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Desktops. Take a motion to approve.
I make
a motion to approve the desktops that are so very much needed.
Mm-hmm. I'll second
by Ms. Knight. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Information and announcements.
Just to let you know that we have canceled field trips through the end of the year. So even the stuff that's on here that for information, we've been running around crazy the last few days and probably didn't clean all that off, but all field trips have been canceled. We're working to get refunds for people, and people have been working well with us. Hope that continues. We are in a 2-week state of planning right now, as I said before, to deliver online instruction. We also have received notice that our county health department has banned meetings of groups of 10 or more with the threat of, I believe, a class 2 misdemeanor if that is violated. So
what was that last part?
That the penalty for meeting with groups of 10 or more, I believe, was a class 2 misdemeanor. I don't have it in front of me, but just to let you know that. And again, fundraising request, all of that's probably on hold because we don't know when we'll be back. We do expect to resume instruction on the 30th, and right now we plan on spring breaks happening as scheduled. And I know some people may wonder why after this time period. Well, I can promise you this has not been a vacation for our staff. And I want to thank them as part of this part of the agenda. This staff has worked absolutely awesome. They have worked tirelessly. They've been professional. They have done things way outside of our comfort zones. Again, when I asked for a meeting on Sunday, they were here. The district staff was here. We put together a plan in about 45 minutes. Again, it keeps being compared to the Apollo mission, and it kind of feels like that. that we put together a plan in about 45 minutes. Then administrators came through. They were great as well. And then we've been pushing it out to staff, and I keep seeing either videos of staff or see what they're doing. And it's amazing what they are doing right now and creating on the fly. And I have a feeling that that week of spring break is going to be exhausting. Now we get a test week, if you will, test what we're going to do, and then we'll get spring break. And we'll come back after that.
So, may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So, we'll go from March the 30th, is that right? And then, what will happen on March the 30th, did you say?
We will be delivering the expectation today, unless we receive other guidance that changes that, is that we will resume school electronically /digitally /remotely in some form or format for the week of March 30th through April the 3rd. And that will be a trial run, if you will, to make sure that what we're doing is working and work out those kinks even more. But we are to resume school, and the expectation is we're ready to resume it digitally. You know, if all this clears out and the governor says, you know what, go back to school on Thursday, we will gladly take them back in our buildings and have the children in our buildings and resume normal instruction. But as of right now, we are been told to prepare for the digital instruction to start on March 30th.
And so then on April 6th through the 9th, we'll know we would go on spring break. What dates would that be?
The traditional calendar spring break is the 6th through the 13th.
So we would go back on a break for spring break, April 6th through 13th.
Yes, ma'am. And then we would resume school again on the 14th in whatever manner the governor has instructed us to do, whether that's digital or resume in the classroom. We will resume school on the 14th in one of those two ways.
Okay, digital classroom. Okay, can I ask a question? Another one. Sorry. Will the teachers be working digitally in their classroom in the building while all this is going on and none of the students are there? Or how will that work with work days and all?
Well, right now, this is what's considered staff work days with the option to work at home, and that is highly encouraged for the social distancing and the staying away from 10 or more. That's why we have sent people home to work. But they are working now, and so they're not using leave. Now, if someone were to say, I don't want to work right now, I have completed all my stuff, I don't want to be involved in remote meetings, and they want to take leave, they could, but our teachers are working hard right now, developing these lessons, so these are work days where they are working and not taking leave and not taking days without pay. They are preparing for digital instruction.
Well, I agree with that because I know many are trying to get their computers at home set up for Google Docs and putting their lessons on and getting all their instruction to put on. And so there will be no penalty. Is that what you're saying for work days?
Yes, ma'am. There's no penalties right now. They are working and they are getting paid.
Okay, but no workday penalties, like if some go in and some don't, as long as, because you have told them to not report
right.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. The buildings are not locked because there are some teachers that might not have internet access at their houses, and they may need to come access the internet to work on lessons and things like that. So there are a few people in our buildings right now that need that. They may have materials in their building that they did not take home. They may be, they may not have a computer at their house, and they may have problems hooking their computer to our Wi-Fi. So our buildings are open, and there are some people that are coming in to do that, but the directive is to stay away from each other and stay home. So that is highly encouraged, and giving everyone the opportunity to choose to work from home and to choose the assignments to work from home. And that's why they're being paid for this. But if someone needs to come in to be productive, they are allowed to come in and access the materials or Wi-Fi or whatever they need to do that. But no one is getting special bonuses for doing that, and no one is being harmed if they do not. The expectation is that they stay home at this time, and the expectation is that they prepare digital lessons or distance lessons.
Right, distance lessons, okay. So is there any, do they need to check in, or how does that work?
No, ma'am, we are not doing any requirements with that at this point. If someone were to tell us that they needed to go somewhere and they were not going to have access and they wanted to take leave, they would contact us for that. Otherwise, we're under the assumption that everyone is working at home and completing these digital lessons.
Okay. Well, I've heard from a lot of employees, and they are working at home and trying to get all of their digital learning up and running.
Well, and I have, again, seen digital conferencing between teachers 9:30 at night. Our teachers are working very hard. The emails I'm getting from staff at all hours of the day and questions, and they're working around the clock right now. They are absolutely amazing. They are working themselves. They take their profession very seriously, and they want to shine when we go back to school, and they are working around the clock.
Thank you. I agree. Thank you.
Dr. Rice, one question about digital learning. The drive-in part of it, where they don't have internet access. What if are we having some parents call schools and say that they don't have transportation either, and how are we going to handle that? You may have addressed that earlier, but I don't recall.
I have not addressed that earlier. Again, we know that we're going to have some relaxed deadlines on things to give people extra notice. I believe our teachers are going to be working well with students on that. We're also going to have to create some packet work, and we know that where you may have seen stuff about digital surveys to find out what equipment they have, Wi-Fi they have, and we're going to be making some calls and home visits probably at some point soon if we haven't heard from people to find out how we can continue school with them. Again, kind of like I talked about with the EC issue, we're going to try to find how we can help the masses first, and then we're going to get down to individual people to make sure that everybody has access to an education.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, with that being said, that concludes the information announcement. The next board meeting is scheduled for March 30th. It's a work session. I don't really see the necessity for that one. So we will leave that up, and I will schedule it as needed in conversations with Dr. Rice. If he needs one, we can put one on. But since we're closed and he has more executive authority, I don't think we necessarily need it. So we'll leave the April 20th on the schedule for now. With that being said, it may be remote. It's a fluid situation. I want to thank everybody for their patience. I think this has gone, compared to this being the first electronic one, I think it has gone semi-flawlessly, and I want to commend Ms. Barker for that. And the whole staff, of course.
Well, and I would also like to say I appreciate the board right now. Y'all have asked questions at times, and that's perfectly fine. I appreciate that. At the same time, y'all have not tried to micromanage this situation, which I appreciate. Again, what I tell you 1 minute may change the next phone call, and I've tried to keep you up to date, but I certainly appreciate your overall attitude and supportiveness during this time. from canceling a meeting very quickly Monday evening to meeting remotely today. Y'all have been awesome, and I want to say thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you, and thank you for all you've done.
Yes, sir. No problem at all. Thank you.
All right,
Yes,
Fred.
thank you.
Fred, pursuant to, and you finish it up.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, we need a motion under North Carolina General Statute 143, 318.11, subsections A1, A3, and A6 to consider matters required by state or federal law to be discussed in confidence for discussions with the board's attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege and to consider the qualifications or performance of a prospective or current employee of the Board of Education.
All right, do I have a motion to go into closed?
I make a motion to go into closed.
Seconded by?
I'll second it, Cheryl.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. We are officially in closed. Thank you all.
If you would give us just a minute to shut down the camera and ask a few people to leave the room, and directors, if you are on here remotely,